I've got Jessa here with me.
Hello.
We're going to get stuck into it pretty soon. We're going to be talking about the design journey of 86400 that Jessa led there as the design lead for Australia's first smart bank. I'm personally pretty excited because I reckon it's one of the most monumental design challenges you could kind of come up against, the land of regulation and banking, and trying to convert that into a fun digital experience. So let's get stuck into it. So I'm the founder and CEO of Terram. We're a product development firm. We're an AFR Fast 100 company, 2 years running. I've been involved personally in 61 plus major product launches. I'm an amateur sausage maker, love sailing. And look, like personally for me, this webinar is about interviewing the great things that are going on in the Australian tech and product community. So I'm really excited today to hear about this story. Just super excited to dig into it and learn about it really on a personal level. I hope you are all as well. We've got over 50 of you there again. So jump in just before I hand over to Jessa. Jump in with questions. We may not answer them on the spot. We may take them to the end of the session, but please feel free to jump in. This is really more of a discussion than a presentation. So we're going to have a good chat. The more conversation questions, the better. So Jess, I'm going to hand over to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love you to talk to a little bit about your role at 86400 and then get stuck into the content, the good stuff.
Yeah, cool. So my name is Jessa Jakovljevic, and I'm the design lead at 86400. And I'm responsible for basically leading the design of the bank for all of their digital channels. So 86400 is Australia's first smart bank, and we launched a couple of months ago. And I led my team into designing that bank. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, it's got like, yes, I love to travel and eat and snorkel. These are all.
This is the mandatory personal explanation as well.
Awesome. Not at the same time.
Okay.
Because food gets
eating and snorkeling.
Yes, it's snorkel that eat and then eat and snorkel. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically me. And I'm here today, like I said, to talk about us and our design journey and what we went through. So what did our design journey look like? How did we become customer centered? And how did our product then become customer centered? And if I was to do it again, what would I do differently?
Yeah, awesome.
Because there's a couple of things I would definitely do differently. So I just thought I'd introduce, this is my design team that's like up on the screen at the moment.
Yep.
A lot of bigger companies and traditional banks have like over 100 different designers, and they're so blessed to have that. We were a team of this, so 4 people, and we really had to learn how to be lean in our design thinking and our intention. When we were designing and building this bank. And they're super passionate at what they do. So Darren and Nick are our principal UX and UI designers, and Sarah is our junior visual designer. And they've done a beautiful job pushing for the experience.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you've listed the team up here too.
Yeah.
It's like these aren't done
alone,
really? Right? Well, they're not done alone, right?
Gosh, it wasn't me. It wasn't just me. A lot of the beautiful moments that people love. Like, I know I'm kind of getting into some of the detail, but like the card design and how we moved the numbers at the back. That was driven by the team.
Yeah, awesome.
We really pushed for that. And originally we were going to MVP that debit card, and it was going to have the cards at the front, and it was that team that pushed it.
Yeah.
So now we've got this beautiful card design. Same thing with the marketing merchandise. Like, one of our team members didn't have the right shade of day aqua. It was like a shade too dark.
Yeah.
And they really pushed to make sure it was
awesome.
like the proper color. And like those little things make such a difference.
Yeah, added up. Awesome.
So, yeah, it was good. So
this
is definitely
that's the team.
Our win, as much as
Yeah.
So, yeah. Cool. So I'll get stuck into it. This was the problem that we had to solve. So essentially, people's finances have become really complex. And 2 years of research went into like 86400 before we before we launched or did anything. And this is what we found, that people were just felt like they weren't on top of their money. And there were many reasons for that. So back in the day, we used to make like 4 transactions a month, and now we make more than 1 a day. We've got 88% of Australians that have memberships and subscriptions and direct debits that are taken out of their account automatically. And like not knowing what's going in and out of your accounts leaves people feeling like anxious, stressed, because they just don't have control.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we really wanted to solve was, how do we help Australians take control of their money? So that was the big problem that we were going to solve for 86400.
Yeah.
And I'll take you through how we solved it. So this is a visualization of the beginning of our journey. And there are many frameworks that you can use to become customer-centered. And when I first started at 86400, we weren't using any sort of frameworks.
So just to clarify, this was the design that was there to start with, that you guys came in and this was the existing state of play.
Yeah, some of it is existing, some of it, like, the new design team sort of came in, so they didn't have an internal design team. And so we'd come in and, we were kind of working with what we had, and we were evolving what was there.
Yeah.
And for us, we really had to take stock a little bit, because we realized that, we weren't using any customer-centered frameworks. Like our proposition wasn't really centered around helping solve the problem that we wanted to solve, which is what I just talked about. And it was centered around redesigning the interface of a banking app. And although that's incredibly important to have a beautiful user experience and a really simple design, that doesn't help solve the problem. And so 86400 is not a... So basically, the story that I'm about to tell you is that 86400 was not an exemplary case study on like how, we started off really customer centered and it was intentional. It wasn't really like that. So we had a realization that, we had to really think about what we were doing. The challenge was that we'd already started building the app.
I think a lot of people can relate to that story.
Yeah. And so 3 months after I started at 86400, and 6 months before we were due to launch, we actually ended up scrapping most of that app build.
Yeah, wow.
And we started again.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'd love to know how that conversation went.
But... It was an interesting one, and it wasn't just myself. There were many key people that were on board with that, because we understood. It was very clear that we weren't really solving the problem by redesigning the interface. And so we had to
rethink.
We had to sort of refocus, and we wanted to change people's behavior, not just serve them a beautiful experience. So we had to take a look at ourselves and become customer-centered within the business before we could really deliver something that was customer-centered. You know what I mean? Yeah. So a lot of actually what I'm going to talk about today is how we sort of created the processes on our end as a business and as a culture before I even get into the
design.
Design
the processes to help enable you to be more customer-centered.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was actually one of the first things that we did. So we embedded the design process into the product operating rhythm. And there are 100 ways to do this. And we chose to use a version of the double diamond. And there's so many versions of this out there. We just chose this particular version.
And just to kind of step back a bit, so it sounds like the business had this realization that the product that you had in market wasn't as customer-centered as it could be. And then there was a drive, it sounds like, by a lot of people in the business to say, we need to be more customer-centered. We need to think about our approach, our product. Is that kind of...
It was more like, so one of our customer values, one of our company values, which I'll talk about a bit later, is customer. So we all did have a customer-centric frame of mind. And I think a lot of people go into building, designing and building projects with a customer-centered mind. But how do you do that like in practice?
In an organization. Like? It's easy to say, but you've got to implement it somehow.
Exactly. And there's a lot of tools and frameworks that you can use to actually achieve that. And that's what I believe was missing earlier on is...
And that's a double diamond came in, is you're looking at it,
Yeah, and it was, okay, well, let's look at the design process, which is, for us, a customer-centered process. And how do we embed our product and delivery operating rhythm with this user-centered process. So this is kind of what it ended up looking like. And this isn't sort of to read, I know you can't read it, but it was more to show that we have a product operating rhythm which involves design, involves product, and involves the engineers, and this is how it sort of feeds into that double diamond. Yeah.
It's quite small on the screen.
Yes.
Do you want to talk through a little bit the steps? So you got design the right thing. Talk us through design the right thing.
So I'll kind of flip through different, two different slides here. So like my apologies, but essentially the first part of the diamond is understanding, well, what do we want to tackle? And it's kind of prioritizing what problem do we want to solve. And so we use a combination of jobs to be done to understand and empathize with the customer's desired outcome. And so, I mean, that's a framework that's been used quite a bit, but that's what we used. We don't use sort of personas at our workplace, which is, it's more jobs to be done, because I feel like it's quite definitive and it doesn't change, whereas personas can sometimes change and be a little bit abstract. So we chose jobs to be done. And then from there, we use MaxDiff and Kano, which is both survey techniques to determine, so MaxDiff shows you the importance of things. And so we use MaxDiff to show us the ranked importance of those jobs and particular customer benefits. And then we use Kano to determine like the potential attractiveness of a product before we even begin building.
Is it going to delight? Is it just an essential feature?
Exactly.
Is it a utility feature? Do they get more, as we add functionality, do they get more power?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so all of that kind of feeds into the design the right thing. So that's kind of in the purple region. That's all the activities happen there.
In the
and it's just about deciding, well, what do we want to tackle? Who do we, what problem do we want to solve? What job do we want to actually help people achieve? And then the sort of our De Aqua shade, our brand shade, is that's kind of where I think a lot of people are more familiar with this sort of diamond, which is where you design, you user test your designs, you refine them, you build them, get customer data, and you do it all over again. So I feel like that one's always the one that people understand quite well. And where we really needed help was the purple section, because we hadn't done like that.
Enough.
Like we had the research. We had all of these problems. We just weren't sure which job to solve first, and which was going to have the biggest impact in the market.
So, isn't the job to be done? I just need to pay for something. I'm being quite simplistic. To explore the. I know it's not that straightforward.
Oh no, it is. That is a number one. One of the number one jobs for a customer is to
pay for a coffee.
Make sure I can make a payment really fast and really easy. And so if we took that to Kano, for example, so if you didn't have...
It's hygiene factor.
Exactly. It's a must have. So if you didn't, if we did not build payments, people would not give us the time of day. It would be like, why are you even launching? That being said, having payments in our banking app is not...
It's not a delightful thing. No one calls up their friend and says, "Oh my God, I can make a payment with this bank, wasn't it amazing?
Yeah. No one, it wasn't going to be our differentiator in the market.
Yeah.
On the flip side though, so this kind of shows you how we took sort of the frameworks and helped to prioritize our backlog.
Yeah.
So this was an idea that came up, which was to help customers view the bills that were coming up, their subscriptions and everything. So it's in our app at the moment, we can automatically detect that the bills that are coming out of your account.
Yeah.
And if you connect your other bank accounts into the app, we can predict the bills and subscriptions and direct debits that are coming out of that account as well.
Yeah.
So that's a feature that we have now. Originally, when it was an idea, we took it to Kano to see if people would like it or not. Because it's a lot of build effort to create like the engine to enable all of that. And so we took it to that survey, and we found that if it wasn't in the app, people would, meh about it. Like, yeah, it's okay, I can live without it.
Yeah.
But having it in the app, or the idea of it, came out really attractive.
Right.
And so that's kind of how we were able to go, okay, this is a very attractive feature. Let's put in the effort to build the customer engine that's going to enable those insights.
So just to check out, so people, when you surveyed them, they did say that was something that would be great?
Yeah.
Or they were indifferent?
No, they loved the idea.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of, so Kano works in a way that's like, if this thing did not exist, how would you feel about it? And then on the flip side, we ask the same question where we say, if this thing was there, how would you feel about it?
Yeah.
And sort of there's some formulas around that kind of determine where it sits.
Yeah.
So for this particular feature, if it wasn't there, people wouldn't care too much. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because no one really serves that in the market right now anyway. They live without it.
Yeah.
But having it there would, they really liked that. Versus if we go back to payments, it would be a huge detractor. So in the Kano survey, if we didn't have payments, people would be pissed off about that. So it's kind of a way to help you determine whether someone is indifferent, whether someone really loves something, or whether if you didn't have it, it would really piss some people off. So that's kind of what we did. Yeah. And then when we took it so then we ideated off that, obviously, and we made some designs from it, and we took it to user testing. People loved the logos. Like, they just could not stop talking about the logos. And so that helped drive the design team to source over 200 merchant logos that would be displayed alongside the bills. And that sort of stuff gets deprioritized all the time.
Yeah.
Because the amount of effort it takes to map the logo with the bill and source the right logo. But there wasn't any tension about it because
the users had said how much. It's interesting, these little design features that in a more traditional lens are kind of always get deprioritized. That's just cosmetics is often the thing you'll hear. I think just more and more it's those little touches that delight, that seem to make a difference. Like whether it's you look at Slack with its use of emojis, it's almost like the sole reason Slack kind of does so well, because people can express themselves through emoji. And in a traditional lens, you'd never prioritize an emoji. It's a similar kind of thing, right?
Completely agree. Because it's the emotional connection that you're creating, and it's not functional, and it's superfluous because it's not functional. But that sort of stuff is the stuff that makes people love it. So because people kept talking about it in user testing, we did that.
Yeah.
And once we had launched the feature and tested it out with people just loved it. And we even centered a whole ad campaign around it. So it kind of showed you how we used that framework and validated all the way through. And it kind of helped inform acquisition to installation to engagement. So like the whole kind of.
And when you surveyed with the Kano model, you clearly didn't present people with this, listening to you talk. In the first instance, you surveyed them and you must have just said something like, would you like us to tell you predict what your upcoming payments are going to be?
Yeah.
And it was just just a question like that, right? Like a text question?
Yeah, for us, because there's two ways you can do it.
Yeah.
One way you can do it is have prototypes for each thing.
Yeah.
And then so they can see kind of what the idea is. And then another way is you describe it.
Yeah.
We chose to describe it because it was just
faster.
Yeah. But it's kind of better to prototype it, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then also you have to be sure that what you've designed is the final outcome.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you come up with an idea and that's not really how you're going to execute it. And so later down the track, you wonder, well, did they just like the visualization of how you execute
or the actual
that
functionality?
idea? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you also run the risk of, if you're trying to do a mock-up that, say you've got 120 ideas and you're trying to mock each one up, that's quite a lot of time versus just asking a question, hey, is this useful?
Yeah, exactly. It's not very lean, and you know, as a startup we have to kind of be really intentional about where we put our effort.
Yeah. Cool.
But you can do that if you want to.
Yeah. So what's next?
Cool. So the next challenge for us was, you know, understanding who our customer was.
I'm just going to pick something up because it's come through in the questions quite timely. And I actually had the same wondering. When you were sourcing the logos, was there a negotiation with Netflix around, can we use your logo, or?
No.
You just think,
Well, no, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious,
Yeah, we didn't.
And legal didn't know.
Maybe
they will now that they've listened.
Maybe, Stop talking. Stop saying things. I know. It went through. We did go through legal. We did go through proper regulations. We were a bank.
I don't see why anyone would have an issue as well. It's like you're pretty much advertising for them.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Yeah,
you're not trying to make profit off using their logo. Really.
No. Well, if anything, we're helping them.
Yeah.
We're helping people pay their bills. So, it's like a surefire way to make sure you get paid.
There's another one around how much do you invest in user testing? I think more from how long did the process go for to from that initial text-based Kano? Obviously, you would have had to have thought out what are the jobs that people need to do. Then you would have needed to write them out, put them in a survey, run the survey. What kind of timeline are you talking?
So the whole time, I would say, I don't know, it's probably a really bad way to answer that. So a lot of what I'm describing, it wasn't done in a linear fashion.
Yeah.
So because we'd already, like I mentioned, we'd already started our app build. So things had to keep moving on the train, as well as us doing a lot of the first diamond activities.
Yeah.
So we knew, for example, payments had to be there. And so we were designing and building payments as the second part of the design process, the second diamond. At the same time, we were doing research to investigate what type of insights people would, find useful to them, and whether our ideas were going to solve the job that they wanted to get done. So
that nice line that you had was kind of more like
it was more like a parallel sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's the weird thing with design, because and building products as well, because really it's like this. It's like a cycle thing.
Yeah.
And there are steps to it. And so it never really gets visualized in that way. So when I show that diagram, that's the process that we took, but that doesn't mean we did it. That doesn't mean that there wasn't 5 different
You didn't go step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah.
You were doing maybe step 5 on one particular
initiative
stream of work at one point in time, and
Yeah. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I think Katie, does that answer your question around how much did you invest in user testing? I'm not asking specifics around the budget because I think it's a bit of a sensitive one, but I think the timeline and your team size would give someone a rough idea of.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I can safely say that we did user testing from the very beginning as soon as we started the design sort of process right to the end. And we've been doing this. And then we also did customer research, so if you include that. So about three years of testing. It's been, it's regular and it's consistent. So every 3 weeks or so, we were doing user testing. And then we were also doing, surveys and the 2 years of research that went into 86 400. So a lot.
And what I picked up on there as well is the regular discipline versus hey, we did the double diamond or we did our design sprint and now we know all the answers and bang. Whereas what you're talking about is a regular discipline of almost probably you're reviewing as well, right? Yeah. Hey, we just put this thing out that we designed. Did anyone use it?
Yeah, well, we can do that now because we launched. Well, we could do it once we kind of went into pilot. But yeah, it was difficult in the beginning because we didn't have any customer data to go on. But that's where user testing is really beneficial.
Yeah. So choosing a customer.
Back to the slides. So it's kind of a good segue. So we didn't have any customer data to help guide us.
Because you hadn't launched, right?
So it's our challenge was what do you do? And one thing that I think we did well was choose who our target market was. And then we done research to understand who they were or what their attitudes were, what their motivations were. So even though we didn't have any customer data per se, we had a lot of empathy and we could infer certain decisions based on the customer. So for example,
did you have personas then?
We didn't use personas.
Okay.
We used just more of a customer profile.
Okay.
So for example, it was like, we are going to target 25 to 45-year-olds. They're going to be the type of customer, and we knew they existed because we'd done the research for it, that they have more than one bank account with more than one institution. They leave everything they leave their life in their mobile. So they can do it on their mobile, they do it on their mobile, and control is really important to them. So we didn't have personas because we didn't really know what type of customers we were going to get when we launched. Certainly you can target for a particular market, but then, maybe you get maybe we got 18-year-olds or something like that.
Yeah.
Although we're open to everybody, we were targeting 25 to 45. Because that's why we didn't use personas. And this was clearer, I thought, because it was just one type of profile that you had to make decisions of. And so one of the things that we did as a design team is, for example, when we were choosing which UI components we should execute on, we weren't as conservative with it because we knew that our customer profile was really app savvy. And they were the type of people that, would
give them the latest and great, something fun to interact with as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of made it easier to make decisions like that. And for our upcoming bills, we knew control was really important for this customer profile that we were trying to target. So although we display the bills, we don't pay it for them. We don't pay it for them.
Okay.
Because that's like one step too far. Actually, we tried that in Kano. We put that in the Kano survey, and that was don't do that.
Yeah,
they came back and they were like, that would be a detractor. We do not want you to pay our bills for us or move money around.
Yeah, because I guess that's then you're losing that feeling of control because when the bank's doing it for me, people inherently don't trust banks. So there's this that's a bit surprising in a way.
Yeah, I mean, we thought it was a really good idea. We were like, because it
takes all the time though. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, because our idea was this idea of sweeps, where you would, if you were short of money, we would sweep. We thought it was really cool. We sweep some money from one account to the other, and you wouldn't get charged any late fees or anything like that. But that actually was not seen as something that people wanted when we took it to Kano. Yeah. And I think it's that feeling. It made sense. We looked at who our customer profile was, and if control is really important to them, this idea of sweeping money back and forth automatically, it made sense that they weren't feeling that.
Yeah.
So we did that. So we understood who our customer was. Okay. And we specifically recruited our target customers for user testing.
Yeah, okay.
So even though we didn't have any customers and we only launched a couple of months ago, you can see we've done a lot of testing and validation with real people.
And when you say recruit them, were you down at Barangaroo handing out free coffees? Like,
no, we used Askable actually, which is a really good panel to use because they people sign up and you can say I want 25 to 45-year-olds and you have your screener there. It's really good. I love them.
How many people do you think you...
I wasn't paid to plug that. I was just like, that's just what we did.
How many really people do you think you interviewed in that stage?
I'm not sure. Too many to count, I would say.
In the hundreds or...
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, because we tested every 3 to 4 weeks, and we would test with over like 10 people at a time, and like I said, because we had initiatives going simultaneously, and then we had the service a lot. Yeah, I'm also very bad with that.
I love it. Well, too many to remember is a good starting point.
So it was cyclical, so a lot. Yeah. Okay. That's gonna be my default answer.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot of people.
That's good.
Yeah. So then then we had the beta test with our staff, family, friends, and stuff. So
yeah. And you've had 2 months in production with real data.
Yeah, and I mean, having the data is great because we can see when people
don't have to guess.
We don't have to infer so much, but yeah. So this is kind of describing like the design culture. Rob is our CEO, and he actually scribes one session every time user testing is scheduled.
And just scribes, and he's typing up the
notes. He's like typing up the notes, and this kind of formed from a really scrappy place because we didn't have, like, our design team is so small and we don't have that many people in the startup. We needed help.
Yeah.
So we opened up scribing to everybody.
Yeah.
And we just needed people to help with, observing what was happening.
It's connecting them with the customer as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it did this two it did two things for us. One, obviously we got someone to scribe for us. We really needed help. So thanks, Rob, and everybody in the company. It opened up our design process to everyone. So it kind of created this culture of like customer centricity.
Yeah.
And because I really don't think you can get empathy for a customer until you see them struggle through the app that you're designing and that you're building. And that's essentially what happened. And so Rob loves coming to scribe for us. Also, we make it really, really easy to sort of log in to view the tests or just watch the tests as well. Our CPMO also does a lot of scribing, so it's been good. And then also,
it almost sounds like something. So it's volunteer, but to me, it sounds like something that maybe organizations might want to think about. Forcibly rotating, force is the wrong word, but because it's such a good way to connect. With the user.
So good. I actually thought
especially because you got to write things down versus just I sat in a session once. It's like I was actively engaged in the session.
It feels so different to be there.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what a lot of our volunteer scribes have said to me afterwards, was that it feels like I've watched so many times and that was the first time I scribed. It just feels different because you're there and you see it and you almost feel like you're going through the journey with them. It's been really good. Also, like all the wins that we've had at user testing. So when people were talking about how much they love the merchant logos and they love that, thing that we had designed and built, it got people, especially since we got, like those times when you're like, you come into work and you're like, oh, I'm so burnt. And, it was good because then you got that feedback. You're like, we're here for a purpose. We're doing something together. And
people do care. Yeah.
Yeah. And people care, like, especially when you haven't launched yet and you're like a secret project and you're like, no one can know about it. My dad was like, my dad was like, is the place that you're working at legal? Because we haven't named yet. I was like, no, it's a legal place, Dad. Like, why would you think that I'm a criminal? Like, why would you think that? And anyway, so I'm so glad we finally got our name. But so it's sort of,
Dad, I've got a real job. I'm not a criminal. I'm not.
I was like showing the ads to my dad. I was like, see, it's a real place. I'm doing things.
Yeah.
It has importance. Yeah.
That's
So
great.
yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
And so kind of brought us all together for this like one purpose.
And yeah, just while we're chatting about your CEO, there's a question of how much of your segment discovery was, I guess, kind of what's implied is, was it just the founder saying, "This is what I want to go after," or was there like research back?
Oh no, there was there was research behind it, and there's obviously a little business driver behind that as well.
Yeah.
And so we have really amazing product managers who kind of went through not just the target market, but the potential revenue that you would get from targeting that
different
particular
markets.
market. Yeah. So
yeah.
And I can't talk about the numbers as well, so I'm not very good at
it. It was a lot, right?
but yeah, so it was a lot. It was a lot. And so it wasn't just that. I mean, obviously there's, we make decisions and then we, try to understand the customer impact and the business impact to that.
Yeah.
Our business model has always been that if we deliver an amazing, beautiful experience, then people will come and and fund their accounts with us. And then we'd be able to sort of allow home buyers to get a home loan with us. And that's kind of always been our sort of business model, starting from deliver something that is going to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next?
Oh, what is next? I don't know. All right, cool. So once we had our processes in check, we had an operating rhythm, we had a design culture sort of in check. So a lot of it's like kind of us preparing ourselves.
Yeah.
Then we could really sort of focus on the product and how we wanted the product to feel and look, and not just the app, but all of our digital channels.
Yeah.
And so these are actually our experience principles, which
unique to you.
Unique. I mean, a lot of companies have their own sort of experience principles. These are ours. These are the ones that we had chosen that would help guide our overarching experience that people wanted to feel as they interacted with us. So like tailored to the customer, real-time and relevant, accessible, designed for everybody. It's really important. We wanted to be a bank that was transparent. So, that means making sure that when you're talking to somebody in copy and communications, that it's easy to understand. We're not hiding any of the disclaimers. It's easy to understand and read. Simple, that was our huge sort of design philosophy. So simple to use, simple in aesthetic, really minimalist in design, and also every screen had a one primary purpose that was aligned to one job. So there was that, and then the last, which is my favorite, which is delightful, which is designed for emotion, designed so people will love the product that they're interacting with. So that's those were the experience principles that we used. Negotiate the shizzle is a term that we came up with in the early days of starting 86400. And it's essentially, the shizzle is essentially the sexy stuff in an app that, everyone deprioritizes because it's really not that important. And so what we did was we negotiated the shizzle with product managers and devs so that they weren't worried about us shizzling everything. Because I think people get worried when, as designers, we want to make everything super sexy, super amazing. But that costs, money and time. And so having a shizzle tax on stuff was a way for us to negotiate, like, how much sex appeal one feature was going to have.
Yeah.
Really weird to use.
Okay.
But yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this was our company values. This existed before I started, actually.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is, and the reason why I bring it up, because if you look at each of the values, they're quite bold, empowering statements. And it was one of the big motivators for me in telling my team that maybe we're not heading in the right direction with these designs and we might need to think about this again.
Yeah.
Because, when you have some values behind you that says be agile and brave, and you're, telling your entire company that this particular design is not going to work for these reasons, you kind of have to suck it up a little bit and be bold in that. And so I really feel like these values were so important in fostering the right culture for that type of thinking. So this is where we were and this is where we landed when we sort of employed customer-centered frameworks and techniques to help us design.
Much simpler.
Yeah. So we have like a really easy onboarding experience so that you can join the bank. All the pays, so Garmin, Fitbit, Apple, Google, allowing customers to connect all of their bank accounts into our app to simplify their finances, and then off of that, delivering smart insights to them that would help them understand their money, like the upcoming bills module. So each of these features is a proposition that is centered around an important job to be done.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we've got a beautiful app experience that the guys have designed.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Cool. So that's us.
Cool. We're just going to jump into some. Thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope everyone else has enjoyed it so far. It's time for a bit of, you had what you would do differently.
I did, yeah. I mean, there are like two bits. So one was like, don't assume the design maturity of the business. So like I kind of did that. And because like I mentioned earlier.
It's a new bank. Surely the design maturity's there.
Yeah, and because they said, we were all customer centered, but we didn't have the frameworks. And so customer centricity is not just a frame of mind. You have to have like chosen frameworks and techniques that help you validate with the customer. And it was about educating the business on that as well.
Yeah.
Open up scribing, I talked about that. Obviously, I'd love it if we had our proposition before we started building.
Yeah.
And then the last one was just a random one. It's like making sure your numbers add up when you design banking apps. Because because people do maths.
And they get really...
I don't do maths. And so it was a learning for me because I'm like, I can't add anyway, so I don't realize that these numbers...
No, it's really interesting how presenting a concept to someone, they can get caught on. I know I've been in one where it's like, why is the button in the top right-hand corner? And you're just like, well, it's not about the button in the right. No, it's not even a relevant button, but
you lose them.
And it's gone, and it detracts. It's a detractor from. People just don't then engage with the substance. Yeah.
And it sucks. And I lost them. Yeah. So we lost some sessions because I just didn't know how to add. But I've learned of a calculator. And now we check all that. Yeah.
So let's pass over to questions. So we've got one here. We'll start with one from Steve, which is which software, kind of links to one of mine, like which tools and software products did you take advantage of on this? Did you use as this journey? You mentioned the Askable. Are there other, we're using Envision?
So we use, in our design team, we use, us in the tech team use Atlassian products, so Jira and Confluence. We use Slack is a big one. We've gotten our C team all on Slack. It took a while for our chief product and marketing officer to understand Slack. Now he just like emojis everything. It's so weird. And we use Azure. So I use Azure for wireframing. I know it's like an old tool. So old school goodies. So whatever, I'm not changing. Sketch, we use Sketch, Zeppelin. So that's good communication between the UI designers and the devs.
And what about your research? Where are you storing all your research insights?
At the moment, we store everything in Confluence. So I've just got a list of Confluence pages of the results. What I would like to do is almost have a repository of all of the themes that keep coming up and things that are important, and then a way for you to
navigate it. And
what else?
Probably more than enough. Any other questions? We've got about 5-10 minutes, so just please send more questions through. I'm just going to pick up another one here, which is, how much customer profiling did you get from your parent company?
From our parent company,
or maybe just insights or research. How much customer data did you get to start with? It sounded like you answered that before.
We chose our customer profile. After the research, we looked at kind of the biggest impact that we would have if we were to design for that particular market, and how much.
And so that's cool. I think we covered it. There's another one here. What's a Smartbank?
What is a Smartbank? So a really good way that I like to explain it is, so originally we had telephones, and don't worry, I'm getting somewhere. So we had telephones, and it was like a fixed place, and you would make calls to somebody. And then we had a mobile phone, and it was a way to call people, but you were mobile, so it was a portable telephone. And now we have a smartphone, which is like everything. Managing your life on your phone.
One device.
Yeah, in the one device. And that's essentially how we see ourselves as a Smartbank, is that, we used to have branches where you would have to go into that branch. And then we had digital banks where it's basically your bank but portable. And what we're providing is a smarter alternative to that. So really leveraging technology and automation to surface up things about your finances that you didn't realize before, to help you feel more in control. So controlling your financial life. All
right, there's a follow-up question here of the final product. What percentage is custom designed, custom developed versus off the shelf, or enterprise off the shelf technology?
Oh, that's an interesting question, because I don't think, this is just my personal view, I don't think anything is really custom anymore. I think that digital products, websites and apps, one of the biggest challenges that they have is that they can all tend to look very homogeneous, because we all reuse the same components and patterns and design systems, whatever you want to call it. For ease of build, speed of build as well, and also why change something that's broken. So I'd say none of it is custom. There's UI kits that you can look at as reference around the internet, and it's something that you probably want to do because it means that you can build things faster. I think where businesses and designs differentiate is whether the product that you're designing is going to serve a purpose or not. Does it actually help a customer get a job done or not? Because everyone expects an app to be beautiful. Everyone just thinks that's standard.
The bar's there now.
The bar is so much higher than it was before. So it's not enough to have a beautiful app. You have to have a product that helps you do something.
And I think I'm going to grab 2 more questions, and we've probably got time for 1 more after that. So if you do have a question, just put it into one of the chat windows. So the question from Pamela is, how did you come to realize that you're not solving the right problem at the outset? You were saying in the beginning, and you kind of went, hang on, we're not there.
There was a lot of reasons. I think a lot of his gut instinct as well. You're not hitting the right, you're not feeling it. It was also intuition from a lot of people, because we had a problem statement. Everyone was really clear about what we wanted to do, which was help Australians, understand their money, help them feel in control. And when we looked at our build and our design, it wasn't aligning. It wasn't really hitting that problem to its core. It was definitely a new interface, and we could see that. But we couldn't line up what we were doing that was any different to anybody else. We weren't sure about that. Whereas now we can say, okay, the upcoming bills module caters to this particular job, which is help me stay out of money trouble. So we knew that we were
aligned to something
up.
that your users, your customers trying to do. Yeah.
And then also from a development perspective, we had our tech leads come back and say, this isn't, these designs are not feasible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of build effort that has to go into this, and
so it sounds like part of the realization was you realized you couldn't understand the customer because you didn't actually have a way of explaining what the customer wanted. It's kind of like so I'm just trying to think one of the way for someone, if someone's sitting there wondering, how do I realize if we're not solving the right problem, then the takeaway for me from what you said is that the way to realize it is if you're not even able to articulate what the problems are, and you don't have a system and process and methodology for articulating the customer problems, then there's a good chance you're not addressing the customer's problem.
Yeah.
Because you can't even know or evaluate it. Whereas once you had that in, you could then evaluate and kind of know how you were tracking against solving it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if you were to ask, like, so, asking me now, how do I think we solved that problem?
Yeah.
Then I could articulate that. But back then, Pamela, to your question, we were stumped. We were just like, kind of like this. It wasn't. There was no conviction in what we were doing.
Yeah.
And those earlier designs look nice, but there was no conviction in.
I love it. Conviction is the. Yeah. All right, so we got two more. I got one from Bob, which is: was your team responsible for the amazing card and welcome pack? If so,
they were.
Bob, you just won a friend, I think.
Yes, I'm so proud of them. So yeah, they did. And look, it's awesome for us because it's not every day for the design team to be able to
kind of
do
physical.
that sort of stuff,
It's usually the domain of marketing.
It's the only physical thing that you'll get from us. So we really took we put a lot of love and care into it to making sure that when you open it, it feels like a beautiful gift opening experience. Anyways, I'm super happy with Bob. Yes, and
So what's the process?
Did a great job doing that. The process for that?
Similar kind of thing, job to be done.
Oh gosh, my team's actually going to write up a whole article on the process that they took because it was really quite cool and hard as well because we had to find the right printer.
Yeah.
They were like prototyping with and they've been prototyping with like white cardboard and they would like scalpel and cut everything together, and it was like a whole arts and crafts thing at our pod. And it was a lot of prototyping, very similar to the way that you would make a digital product, but you had to physically make the card design.
Cool.
And, yes,
sounds like fun.
That was the process. But there's an article they're going to write about it, so I can you'll see that come out.
This is the last question for today. It's from EE. Did you get designs in potential customers' hands early? So how soon in that 12-month user testing window were you getting, because you mentioned you did some text survey out to users. How soon was it before you were getting the designs in front? Like
almost straight away.
3 weeks, a month from idea or?
Yeah, pretty much. From because we were doing it regularly, like every 3 to 4 weeks. So as soon as we had something and we were confident with it, then we would go into testing the next session.
Okay. Well, look, thank you, everyone. It's time to end the discussion. Thank you so much for all the questions. Thanks for being with us. Thank you so much, Jessa, for that. I definitely learned a few things myself.
Was fun.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. And there'll be a recording. If you've got any follow-ups, we'll send an email with the slides. Catch you later. Bye-bye.